Hey everybody, this is Olive Palou, and I am showing you a kind of a short presentation that I've put together for parents or really specifically parents, but even students. This could possibly be used at the beginning of the school year. This is just one of those topics that continues to be a major issue. Something that we can have to continue as administrators and as a district to find ways to address it appropriately. And so I'm just going to kind of walk you through this so that you can kind of see what my plan is. So this is cyberbullying. According to Olathe Schools, bullying is defined as any intentional gesture, any intentional written, verbal, electronic, or physical act or threat that is sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive that creates an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment for a student or staff member. And so the first thing I wanted to do was define what bullying is according to Olathe Schools, because cyberbullying falls right under that. And so you can see bullying is defined if it has the effect of harming a student or staff member, physically or mentally, damaging the student or staff member's property, placing a student or staff member in reasonable fear of harm, or placing a student or staff member in reasonable fear of damage to their property. So once we've defined what bullying is, I think then we can move on to the cyberbullying, which is bullying by a use of any electronic communication device through means including, but not limited to, email, instant messaging, text messages, blogs, mobile phones, pagers, online games, and websites. One of the questions that tends to come up when it comes to cyberbullying is, what about situations where students are using their own technology or their own devices outside of school and they're not on school grounds? When is it appropriate for the school to step in and take action? In Aaron Dugan's class in this program, I learned the biggest thing that we have to do as administrators and staff is figure out when student learning is going to be disrupted, is going to be impacted, or when there's going to be a major disruption at school. As soon as student learning is being impacted, or there's that disruption, or we can even forecast a disruption coming, then we have the duty and the responsibility as administrators and staff to step in and take action. I would move on to sharing a couple of examples from some cyberbullying cases in recent years. As you'll see in this presentation, and this slide and the next, what happens is the students are using their own devices and they're not on school grounds. And so in both of these situations, the student appealed the decision of the cyberbullying, and due to criminalization of protected speech, and so they tried to use the First Amendment of free speech to their defense in this situation. And this next one, the courts overruled the student's claim, and they sided with the principal, superintendent, and school board because the situation was understood as threatening or harassing, and there was a reasonable forecast of substantial disruption. And so it's important for us to know that even in situations where it doesn't maybe happen on our school grounds, or it doesn't happen using our technology, we cannot turn a blind eye. We've got to do our best job of providing a safe environment for our kids and ensuring their success. And so that starts with us providing that safe environment. Here's some statistics that I would share with parents from 2007 to 2016. You can see that the average number of students or percentage of students who has experienced cyberbullying is at 27.9%. but you can see from 2007, it has risen from 18.8% to 33.8%. And so that's a 15% increase, almost double of what it was in 2007. And as you can see, the newest research from 2016 to 2019, there was a study done of 5,000 U.S. students ranging from 12 to 17 years old, and they were able to respond to 4 different statements. The first one being, I have been cyberbullied in the last 30 days. That increased from 2016 to 19. I have been cyberbullied at some point in my life. There's even a bigger increase there. I have cyberbullied others in the last 30 days. Slight increase. And then I have cyberbullied others at some point in my life. Over a 3% jump. And so the stats just show us that this is a trend that is continuing to increase. And so that means that as administrators and staff, we have an increased responsibility to find ways to address it. What's the impact of cyberbullying? Similar to the bullying impact, or the impact of bullying on students, there's going to be that lasting emotional, concentration, and behavioral issues. There may be trouble or complications getting along with other people due to trust issues. Students who experience cyberbullying are more likely to use alcohol or drugs at an earlier age, trying to deal with those emotions. There's that increased chance of self-harm. And then some of those long-term effects include low self-esteem, depression, poor performance in school and the workplace. So, if a kid's going through experiencing some cyberbullying while they're a teenager, it can definitely carry over to their adult life and impact them even after school is long gone. As you can see, the last bullet here, this is any administrator, any family member, worst nightmare. The long-term effects can become life-threatening problems for those students if we don't address it. So what are some strategies that we can have in place in our buildings? Well, in this day and age, cell phones are becoming more and more acceptable. And so we've got to make sure that in our buildings, especially those middle school and high schools, that we've got to have a cell phone policy in place. That's going to be up to each building. Each administrator is a little bit different. I know that one of the high schools I visited here in Olathe still had the no cell phone policy, unless they were at that during the lunch period. Whereas I went and visited a Blue Valley high school, and they had a traffic light policy to where in the hallways and lunchroom, cell phones were always acceptable to be out. And then when these students went to their individual classes, each teacher had a traffic light when the kids entered the classroom, which indicated the cell phone policy for that individual class that day. And so one day you go to that class, it may be on green, which means that the students can have their cell phones out and can use them throughout the class for educational purposes, obviously. Yellow light meant that the teacher would let them know when it was time, and then the red light was no cell phones out. So I think cell phone policies are crucial in trying to prevent some of that cyberbullying stuff. One of the high schools I went to had monitoring software built into their server and some of their technology devices. And so when students would log on to the server, whenever they searched for something, if there was a keyword that was a red flag, then it would alert the administrators right away on their phones or on their computers so that they were aware of what was going on and they could address it right away. I think it's crucial for schools to have a digital citizenship program in place. I've talked about it before, but I know for the elementary and maybe even middle school levels, Google has a digital citizenship program available for teachers and students, and they find fun ways to get kids excited about learning those things. The counselors, especially in the elementary schools, they talk about bullying and cyberbullying as part of their counselor curriculum. Classroom teachers can help with some of those things by establishing their own expectations while the students are in their rooms using the technology devices. And then last but not least, definitely one of the most important things is we've got to make sure that we educate the students and parents on the district policy. So what can parents do at home? As we know, school is great, but if we can have parent involvement and parent connection, then everything gets taken to the next level. So strategies for home: parents need to be connected with the school, be aware of what's going on with the policies and things like that. Parents need to make smart decisions in terms of giving their children access to technology. What are the expectations for technology use at home? And then being able to have that honest and open communication with their kids while they're there. In terms of educating parents, there are online resources available. I think parents need to make sure that they are up to date and knowledgeable about what bullying and cyberbullying looks like and how to deal with those things, especially with the bully and victim strategies. And then one of the biggest things is they just need to be knowledgeable and familiar with the different apps and social media that their kids are a part of. These are 3 different resources that I use for this presentation that I think would be useful for parents also. The first one you can see here is the board policies for our district. And so this first one right here that I'm on, JDDC, addresses bullying, and this is exactly where I got that definition from. If parents, staff, students, and everyone is aware of these things, then it's going to help a whole lot. In terms of other resources, cyberbullying.org has got some great stuff. As you can see here, resources for educators, parents, teens, and more. They also cover laws that have to do with bullying and even sexting. And then they've got the research here with facts and statistics and definitions, because that's going to be a huge piece also. And then lastly, Touro University Worldwide has got a bunch of stuff on here about the impact of cyberbullying, kind of defines it, what it looks like, what are the impacts and effects of it, and then tips for prevention and how to deal with those things. So those are all really, really important things for people to be familiar with. And so that is basically it. I think there may be, a few things that you could dive into to add to it, but I think that this is a great starting point for just welcoming the parents and the teachers and the students in at the beginning of the school year. This is kind of a good introduction to kick things off and establish a baseline with those people. And so this is definitely something that I would use, and hopefully I get to put it to use at some point in my administrative career. So thank you.